thanks for coming to this session about hyperlocal community development. My name is Adrian Larrea, and I'm one of the founders of a company here locally called Plover. And Plover is focused on hyperlocal community development. So, when we talk about hyperlocal, you know, a lot of people probably have something that comes to their mind as to what hyperlocal means. To me, hyperlocal means digging into our community as much as possible. Not just looking at, you know, the fact that we're in Nashville, but thinking of all the different parts of Nashville, the East Nashvilles, the Germantowns, the Berry Hills, the 12 Souths, the Franklins, the Brentwoods, and then even within those, the Five Points and the Shelby Parks, and you know, really looking at neighborhoods and breaking them down geographically. When you look at it, and you look at things being broken down geographically, you also have to look at the people that are involved with those parts of towns, the people that are involved with those communities. And as communities are continuing in places like Nashville to become more hyperlocal and to section out and to create little boroughs where we like to go and spend our time and meet friends and spend our money, the web has to keep up with that. And Google is going in a very hyperlocal direction right now. They are looking for people to share information with them about businesses, about professionals, about organizations, and they want that information to be hyperlocal, meaning they want to know everything about it. They want to know everything about you. And why is because Google is a utilitarian service that's focused on giving us the best quality information as easily, as fast, as efficiently as possible. And if we're not sharing information with it, then it's very hard for them to gather information and share it back with us. So hyperlocal really is your community, and so therefore hyperlocal is you as an individual. Each and every one of you makes up our community, and by sharing information about who you are, what makes you different, the businesses that you're connected to, the organizations that you're part of, the events that you participate in, and not just talking about the events in general or the product that you sell, but talking about the why behind that. The why is what's really dynamic these days, and by dynamic I mean it's constantly changing, and it's focused, and it's different, and everybody's why is different. Well, maybe not everybody's, but I'd say for the most part, we all have different focuses, we have different goals, we have different things that we're passionate about, and that gets me to passion. Passion about who you are and what you do. That is kind of where the core comes from to be able to share this information. So defining what you're passionate about is part of creating a great hyperlocal community. Because if everybody within a community is passionate and knowledgeable about what they're doing, then they have great information to share with the rest of us. And if you have great information to share, then you can be a resource for information. And what the community really needs are hyperlocal resources for information. So, how do you start doing that? You know, what does this all mean? What happens? Well, there are lots of organizations around different parts of the community. So let's talk about East Nashville for those of you guys that are around here. East Nashville has a whole little subculture that's developing. It's being talked about nationally, and people are moving there. Houses are filling up, restaurants are making more money, bars are opening left and right. And why is it happening? It's happening because people like the vibe over there. They like the energy that East Nashville is putting out. But when you look at East Nashville, there are a lot of different parts. There's Eastland, you know, there's the Five Points area. Then you can get up into Inglewood a little bit where places are starting to open up, and you say, man, if I were coming to Nashville or if I were just moving here, how would I find these things? Like, how would I find the 5 Points in the East Nashville? I guess you could pick up your local East Nashvillian publication and you could read in it. And why is that important? Because the East Nashvillian magazine is a perfect example of hyperlocal. They are sharing information about not only the businesses in the community, but breaking it down even farther and talking about the individuals behind the businesses in the community, where they came from, what their story is, who they are. So as you're in East Nashville and you read these organizations, you read the East Nashvillians' write-ups about these different people, you start learning about your community. And that information that you're learning is really important. And guess what we do? We go and tell someone else about it. And then they go and tell someone else about it. And they go and tell someone else about it. And that is word of mouth. And word of mouth is what helps businesses grow. It's what helps professionals get referrals. And it also is what helps develop parts of our community to grow and thrive. So, hyperlocal is the people, hyperlocal is the place, hyperlocal is the passion, hyperlocal is the energy. Right? Now, how can you participate in that? Well, one of the most important things you can do is try to use local sources for information. Well, you might ask why. You say, well, a national site has more resources. Yeah, Yelp has more resources than an East Nashvillian, you're right. But Yelp will never be as invested in East Nashville as the East Nashvillian is. Your information from the East Nashvillian magazine will be more credible about East Nashville. It'll be more likely to be more accountable because they're there. They're building relationships. They're acting in the events. They're participating. They're investing in that community. So Google realized this. Google realized that really hyperlocal is where the best quality information is. And that's what we were talking about when I first started. I said they want to be the best utilitarian source for information. So when they started realizing that these local publications were better quality of information, they started redirecting a lot of their resources to go to these local sites. These local sites are now sharing more information, and they're taking over more search results. And so us as people are finding more of what we're looking for, instead of maybe what someone else has paid for us to find, paid for us to see. So imagine if there was a way for every business and every professional and every organization to share their information easily online, and it not just going to one place. Imagine if it went to every website. Imagine if there was a filing cabinet of local information, not just about East Nashville, not just about Nashville, not just about Middle Tennessee or the Southeast. Imagine if it was about imagine if it was everywhere. Imagine if from every website there was a database of information that was so large and so dynamic and so hyperlocal and sustainable and up to date that you could actually find exactly what you were looking for anytime. Not what someone was paying for you to see. Imagine if it was all organized. I'm going to give you something to think about, right? So, a library. Raise your hand if you've ever been to a library before. Everybody. Great. When you went to a library and you went to the computer system and then you went to a shelf and you looked at a code on the book, did it make it a little bit more did it make it easier to find the book that you were looking for? Of course, right? Imagine if you walked in and it was just piles of books, on top of piles of books, on top of other piles of books. And someone didn't just ask you to find the book, they asked you for a sentence within one of the books. It's just you. How do you find it? Right? It's impossible. I mean, not impossible. I mean, you could read every single line of every one of the books and maybe bring other people in to help you find that sentence you were looking for, but it's not going to be easy and it's definitely not going to be efficient. Right? So, if this network was possible and everybody's information could be there and it could all be up to date, and you could find exactly what you were looking for, whether it was from your own community or a community that you were traveling to. Wouldn't that be nice? It was all organized and broken down so you could find it. So you could really find it. So you could find that local burger place that has the grass-fed beef that you love, and they make their own buns, and they really care about their toppings, and half of their proceeds go to support a local organization, right? Those are the kind of places that are investing back in our community. They're investing in our health. They're investing in themselves by providing good quality products and services. And that's what then it boils back around to. It boils back around to quality, service, being a good business, doing things that are right. Because if this information exists where everything can be found, you're not going to be able to run bad business. Because everybody's going to know about it. And everybody's going to know about who your competition is, and they're going to know what they're doing too. So it's going to hold people accountable. And it's that accountability that makes Google happy. That's the information that Google wants, because then, through what they call conversational search, they're able to answer your cues better. We all know that if I'm looking for something, or if you're looking for something online these days, a lot of times the better quality answers are when you do longer searches, right? Well, the reason is because people have figured out how to cue in on the short searches, and big national companies are fighting for those keywords, and they've got a lot of money. So when you do a search, and you find a whole page full of national websites, then you're not really finding that hyper-local. And that's an issue, because then you're not finding the accountability, and the credibility, and the passion, and the knowledge. All you're finding is what someone is paid to be there. So what I do is I say, oh, I must have done a bad search, and I go and do another search, and I add more words, and I add more phrases, and I type sentences, and I write questions, and I do whatever it is to find the information that I want to find. And I still don't know if I'm finding the best information, because this network doesn't exist yet, where all of the information is completely accessible. Now, Google is probably doing a better job than anybody at this, at making high quality information available. But the ones that are really, really responsible for that are each and every one of us, especially if we're business owners, especially if we're professionals in a community. If we want to contribute, if we have a message, you have to get your message out. You have to make phone calls, and you have to go see people, and you have to show up at events, and you have to be accountable. And you have to give back, and you have to give referrals, and you have to help the people that are in your community, in your hyper-local community, your neighbors, the people that are next to you. I mean, today we go to the grocery store, and we walk in, we grab a cart, we go put food in a cart that's in boxes half the time, and then we check out through a machine, and we never speak to anybody. That can be a problem long term. We have been used to talking to people about our food. We've been used to talking to our neighbors. I mean, I've lived in a place for almost a year now, and I've done a pretty good job at meeting neighbors, but I only know one house over in every direction. You know, more than 2 houses, I don't even know who the people are, right? That's crazy. Because imagine, you know, not knowing who your neighbors were 75 years ago, 50 years ago. It wasn't the case. You know, you met your farmers, you met your butcher, you met everybody that was a professional, that was passionate and knowledgeable about what they did in the community, and they became your resource. Well, that's the same direction that online's going right now. The people that share better quality information, the people that are more passionate about what they do, and the people that provide a better good or service at a better price maybe, they're the ones that are getting talked about now. And they're the ones that people are talking to and interacting with. So that brings me to what Google wants for you to do in order for you to be hyper-local. They want good quality information about who you are and what makes you different. They want that information connected to places online in your hyper-local community. Look, search for your media companies, you know, search for the people that put out news in your community. And then they want people interacting with that content. They want people clicking on it and sharing it and liking it and resharing it and tweeting it and Instagramming it and searching for it and whatever kind of interaction that they can crawl. And that's basically what they're doing. They are rereading content over and over and over again and creating algorithms to break it down, to organize it, and to redistribute it when you type into the search box, right? So, let's say, for example, we're taking a trip. We're taking a trip. Where do we want to go? Someone give me a place.
Denver.
Denver. A lot of news about Denver recently. So, we're going to Denver. The first thing I need is a place to stay. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to Google, type in, let's see, what would I type in? I would probably type in quaint, inexpensive, clean place to stay in Denver, right? Now Denver is a big place. It would sure help me a little bit if I could maybe break it down, if I knew about like the little communities that are over there. So then I might have to go and actually research like what part of Denver I'm actually going to be in, or what am I doing in Denver. So what am I doing in Denver? Conference. Perfect. So I'm probably going to be somewhere downtown area. Now, real downtown, probably expensive, so I might try to stay outside of downtown. So now I'm typing in quaint, clean, place to stay, outside of Denver, doing a search, right? What do you guys think I'm going to find right now?
Hotels.com.
Hilton. I might find like an Airbnb site that's gotten pretty big. I might find like a hotels.com. And then I might find like a local real estate person. Right? And honestly, out of those choices, I'm probably going to click on Airbnb and I'm going to click on the local real estate guy. Why am I going to click on the local real estate guy? Because he's a local real estate guy, right? He knows the community that he's in. He's probably got more information to share with me than maybe a homes.com does. Maybe he has some insight about some great place to eat or some place I should go visit. So me personally, I'm always going to be attracted to the higher quality information. And in my opinion, that high quality information comes from local people. The local people know their community the best. Matter of fact, with our company, when we go to a new market, we can't just say East Nashville. We actually have to break down all of the zip codes and all of the little suburbs that people call where they live in all of these areas. And the reason is because that's what people are searching for. People are saying fun place to shop in 5 Points. But if you're not from Nashville, you don't know that 5 Points is in East Nashville, you're never going to do that search, ever. You're just going to type in shopping Nashville or best place to get a shirt in Nashville, right? So this leads me back into this database of information. So what if this database of information existed for Denver? Right? So I go to my favorite website because, like I said, it was on every website. Go into this database that I'm already familiar with. Hit change location like a Craigslist. Go to Denver. Now I've got every category of information available. Not just hotels. Not just places to stay. Places to eat, things to do. People to talk to if I get sick. People to talk to if I want to move there. People to talk to if I'm feeling unhappy. Right? I mean, there's everything. It's everything that you could imagine for a city. And then it's broken down hyperlocally where I can go in and actually read what these people in different parts of town are saying about their parts of town. And the information that they're providing. And their passion, and the why behind it, and their knowledge, and them being a community resource. So would you rather do the search and find the hotels.com, or would you rather have all the information at your fingertips? Fingertips? Sounds nice, right? I mean, raise your hand if you've ever done a search and not found what you're looking for. It's frustrating, right? You have one of the most powerful things that we've ever had, well, I mean, the most powerful thing we've ever had, the internet at our fingertips, but we all have to remember that it's really not that old. It's actually pretty young. It would be like the first caveman, not even like cavemen. It would just be like the first one. We're looking 25 to 45 years old between the World Wide Web and the internet. So we're talking young. So give us some credit. We've gotten pretty far pretty fast. But don't settle with where we are now, because it's not good enough yet. Until all of the information is at our fingertips, is easy to find and easy to share, then the internet's not giving us everything that we need right now. So what each and every one of you guys can do is you can find out how you connect to your community. You can talk to the people. You can meet them. You can find out what you can help them with and what they can help you with. You can build relationships. You can share information. You can be interactive. And you can be a part of your online community the same way that you're a part of your physical community. Because that's really what it is. As the information continues to grow online and more people are talking and more people are sharing this information, there's going to be more camaraderie. There's going to be more hyper-local taking place online. And we're all part of it right now. Every time you do a post, like what we just did today, how many people in here did something on Facebook or Twitter to say that you were at this event? A lot of people, right? Well, guess what? Google knew where you were doing that from. Google knew where you were. Google knew what this event was. It's already indexed it. And now it's going to index the information that you just added to it, making this event even more popular, sharing it with even more people, so next year, even more of these seats are full. And that's what happens when you build good quality things and you do what you're supposed to do. BarCamp's doing a fantastic job with that. They're bringing in local resources that have high quality information, and they're sharing it. And we're all learning from it. And that's kind of where I wanted to get to today. You know, I wanted to get to the fact that I wanted everybody to know that hyperlocal is the wave, that you can want better quality information online, and that you can be a part of sharing and finding it online. Our company's Blue Plover, and we're building that network. Thank you.